call Super Tuesday for nothing. By the way, this is my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh, no, this is Val, you switched on me. This is my wife. This is my sister. They switched on me.
This is the Buff Show on the American Adversaries Radio Network. Christopher Hart and myself, Matt Buff. Good to be with you guys. And we talk about the fallout from Super Tuesday. Not super for everyone, of course. Elizabeth Warren, who's out of the race now, and Mayor Pete, and also Amy Klobuchar. She's out, and they're all
Bloomberg. Don't forget Mini Mike.
Bloomberg, who spent $5 million a delegate.
I think it was closer to $550 million a delegate. He spent but he spent a lot of money. He did indeed.
Man, that's an expensive delegate.
Well, I tell you, he's learned his lesson, I think, and that is that you can't buy love, right? You can't buy me love.
You can't buy me love. Can't buy an election, sir.
Even in politics. But he's not finished spending money, that's for sure.
Well, we saw Bloomberg could not buy a personality either.
Well, that's what it boils down to.
The debates really killed him.
That's what it boils down to. Politics is so much a popularity contest. It's all about name recognition and how people feel about you. And people didn't feel good about Bloomberg when they saw the real Bloomberg. They felt good about the commercials.
Yeah, but Mike can do it. Mike can do it.
But not about the real thing. Yeah.
No, not at all. And then you saw the clip where Biden confused his sister and his wife, and that just is just proof. That was one of my favorite highlights from Super Tuesday. But it just proves that we're in for a lot of fun with the two guys from the Muppet Show, Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. The amount of footage and clips that these guys are going to provide, the gaffes and the missteps and the anger, it's just going to be so fun to watch, Chris.
Well, in my opinion, politics is the funnest sport to watch.
Absolutely.
It can be the most brutal in sport and cruel oftentimes, as we've seen over the past 3 years, especially in the way they've treated President Trump. But this is going to be an interesting show. It does appear now to be a two-person race between Bernie Sanders and Sleepy Joe Biden, Crazy Bernie and Sleepy Joe. And I have to say, on the American Adversaries, predicted that Sleepy Joe would go far in this, that the Hunter Biden stuff, all of that was not going to bring him down. As a matter of fact, would probably elevate him. And certainly Super Tuesday was just the shot in the arm that he needed. It's still a long way to go, but we know that the Democrat power brokers do not want Bernie Sanders to be the primary winner, the nominee.
Well, the socialist scares everybody, like you said, including the Democrats.
Well, evidently it doesn't scare everybody because he's got a lot of support out there.
Well, an interesting fact, though, on that very subject, when you looked at the Super Tuesday numbers that finally came in, young people did not come out and vote for Bernie Sanders in many of the states. Their numbers were lower than they were in 2016.
Well, historically speaking, the younger the voter is, the less likely they're going to come out anyway. And so Bernie's always going to have that lingering problem out there. Also, I do believe that, in a primary season, you're not going to get the turnout you want. But something interesting has happened that you just mentioned, and that is that the Democrats aren't getting the turnout that they want. But President Trump is getting an extraordinarily high turnout for a primary where he has no legitimate competition.
Uncontested on those numbers specifically, when you look at Oklahoma, Texas, and Utah. Now, those are going to be Trump states anyway, but when you combine Sanders, Biden, and Bloomberg, Trump actually outperformed them on votes, and he was uncontested in Oklahoma and in Arkansas. Now, in Texas, he actually got more votes himself than Sanders and Biden combined. And here's a really good one. Colorado, this is a state Crooked Hillary won in 2016, and Trump actually got more votes than Biden and Sanders combined.
All right,
you didn't hear that on the news at all.
Well, but that's the good news. The bad news is there were more than 3 Democrats in the race.
Yes, indeed.
And you have to presume that all the Democrat votes are going to go to the Democrat candidate, whoever it is. And people who are motivated enough to get out in the primary are likely to get out and vote in the general election, with perhaps the exception of Bernie Sanders bros, because if it's quite evident, as it was in 2016, that the party is not going to let him have the nomination no matter what, they could very well sit home or maybe even cross the aisle and vote for Donald Trump just to stick it to the Democrats.
Well, I think
and by the way, he'd be happy to have him.
Yes, he would, and we'll take him. Come on and join us. The walk-away campaign is real, and it's happening. One thing I noticed is one thing I thought about was when we threw up John McCain and Mitt Romney against Barack Obama, who had all the energy in the room. Those guys didn't have a lot of energy. I see that happening with a Sleepy Joe. I really do. There's just so much audio and video out there that shows this guy's he's very creepy. He's very confused, and there's a lingering question about his mental capacity.
Those are not going to be the things that bring him down. This is politics.
Yeah.
All right. Rationality doesn't work in politics. But I will say this, and that is that you mentioned about the enthusiasm. He does have an enthusiasm gap, and this is what would make Bernie Sanders actually, I do believe, a much more, shall we say, formidable opponent for Donald Trump. Because he does create enthusiasm, he does create excitement, he does bring out the big crowds, and he has that enthusiasm, and you need that in politics. The big mo carries you a long way, and Joe Biden doesn't have it, but the media is going to work overtime to help him create it. If he gets the nomination, that I'll guarantee you.
Well, they're going to have to work overtime, so we'll have more on this next week. Thanks for watching.